Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Secretary, thank you for appearing today.
My concern is that we are communicating the wrong message to this president, to President Suharto, at this decisive time, which is that we are unwilling to sort of hold him accountable for this repression. And if we don't convey that strong message, my fear is that we're going to see more. We're going to see more repression. I think now is the time for our country to speak out. I think our silence is betrayal. So, are we going to be clear about that or not?
That is not our policy, as I indicated. Well, your assessment precludes any possibility of a democratic outcome or of a positive outcome. First of all, I think it is very much open for grabs what is going on in Indonesia at the current time. We have not ever seen a situation like this in Indonesia since Suharto took power, in terms of the calls for reform, in terms of the individuals it's coming from, the sectors of society, and I think there is still a chance that they will work it out themselves peacefully. And in that context, we believe it makes sense to go forward with the humanitarian aid.
We make it clear. Can't we take a clear position that if there is a continuation of this repression, that we will oppose the other kind of financial aid?
Or two, we just shorten it to about 2 minutes and get on to our other witnesses. Mr. Secretary, I talked this morning to a reporter who indicated that, in her view at least, IMF was essentially responsible for the present state of affairs in Indonesia. How do you respond to that?
I think that's nonsense. I think that Indonesian policies are responsible for the current problems in Indonesia. The IMF, which has done so well in some other countries not that far away to reverse economic difficulty, shouldn't be held accountable. One doesn't have to say that every IMF agreement is perfect, including the various Indonesian ones. That I would not take that position, but to suggest that they are the fundamental cause of the problem, I think, is really putting the situation, standing it upon its head.
Change, for instance, in the subsidies to food, subsidies to energy, subsidies to fuel, isn't that considered to be one of the things that has brought people to the streets?
Well, if you look closely at the events that transpired, I think the only evidence of that is what happened in Medan in Sumatra. Not that there was any kind of national uprising as a result of the IMF subsidies. In fact, I think the real violence, the one that we have fixated on in Jakarta, is nothing to do with the IMF and everything to do with the shooting of the 6 students and the lack of political reform. I think that's what caused the city to rise up, not the subsidies.
One quick question about the relationship between the local police, and you indicated earlier that to the best